They hated that my house was taller than theirs and started a petition to have it resized. I laughed. Good luck with that. A week later, I unveiled my new construction plans, and they collapsed in horror as they realized what was about to go up right next to their window. I never thought building my dream home would turn my neighbors against me. But that's exactly what happened when my house ended up taller than theirs. I found a vacant lot in a quiet neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona. The area was full of single-story homes, and I planned to build a 2-story house with a rooftop deck to enjoy the city views. I made sure to follow all the city regulations and got the necessary permits before starting construction. As the building went up, I noticed some neighbors watching closely. At first, I thought they were just curious. But soon, I realized they were unhappy with how tall my house was compared to theirs. One evening, as I was checking on the construction progress, my next-door neighbor, Mr. Reynolds, approached me. "Your house is really towering over ours," he said. "It's blocking our sunlight and invading our privacy." I understood his concerns, but explained that I had followed all the legal requirements. "I made sure everything is up to code," I told him. I didn't mean to cause any issues. Despite our conversation, the tension didn't ease. A few days later, I received a letter from the local homeowners association, HOA. It stated that several neighbors had complained about my house's height and asked me to stop construction and change my plans to lower the building. I was surprised. My plans had been approved by the city, and I was within my rights to build as planned. I decided to address the issue directly and invited my neighbors to a meeting to talk about their concerns. During the meeting, it became clear that the main issue was the height of my house. Another neighbor, Mrs. Clark, said, "We feel like your house is looming over us. It's out of place in our neighborhood." I apologized and explained that I had followed all the rules and had the right to build my home as planned. I also offered to add features like frosted windows and tall fences to protect their privacy. Even with these offers, the neighbors were not satisfied. A week later, I was served with a petition signed by most of the community members, demanding that I resize my house to match the neighborhood style. They threatened legal action if I didn't comply. I consulted with my attorney, who assured me that I was within my rights and that the neighbors had no legal standing to force me to change my home. Feeling both frustrated and determined, I decided to continue with my original plans. Construction continued, and the house was completed a few months later. I kept my promise and installed privacy measures, including tall fences and frosted windows, to address my neighbors' concerns. However, the tension didn't go away. The neighbors began to exclude me from community events and avoided me during chance encounters. It was a lonely and disheartening experience. Determined not to be pushed out of my own neighborhood, I decided to take a different approach. I hosted an open house and invited everyone in the community to see the finished product. I wanted them to understand that my home, while taller, was designed with the neighborhood's charm in mind. To my surprise, many neighbors attended. They were impressed by the design and the measures I'd taken to ensure their privacy. Slowly, the animosity began to fade, and I started to feel like a part of the community again. Reflecting on the experience, I realized the importance of communication and empathy in resolving conflicts. While I had the legal right to build my home as I wished, taking the time to address my neighbors' concerns and finding ways to ease their discomfort helped bridge the divide. A month after the open house, things seemed calm. A few neighbors even started waving at me again. I thought maybe the worst was over. I was wrong. One morning, around 6:30 a.m., I heard banging on my front door. It was Officer Diaz from the local police department. "Sorry to bother you," he said, "but someone filed a noise complaint. Said there's construction happening here outside of legal hours." Confused, I replied, "The house is finished. There's no construction." He took a look around, apologized, and left. It didn't seem like a big deal. Maybe someone made a mistake. But it happened again. And again. Over the next few weeks, I had the police at my door 6 times. Always early in the morning. Always the same complaint. Then came the city inspector. "We got an anonymous tip that your house might not be up to code," he said. He checked everything: plumbing, electrical, roof structure, even my fence height. The inspection took all day. In the end, he found nothing wrong. But now I knew someone was trying to make my life hell. I installed security cameras. I stayed quiet. I didn't confront anyone yet. I wanted proof. 2 weeks later, my camera caught it. It was Mr. Reynolds. He was walking his dog early one morning. He paused in front of my driveway, pulled out his phone, and stood there for a full minute before walking away. That same day, the police showed up again. I sent the video to my lawyer. She said, "You can't prove he made the call, but this helps build a case if it continues." I kept collecting videos. Mr. Reynolds wasn't alone. Mrs. Clark was out there too, lurking around my backyard fence. Another neighbor I didn't even know by name dropped something in my mailbox that wasn't mail. Turns out it was a fake HOA violation notice, printed on copy paper. It said I had violated neighborhood harmony standards and needed to cease public display of offensive structures. Offensive. They meant my house. My hands were shaking. I took a photo and added it to the file. But the worst wasn't the fake complaints or the lies. It was what they did to my car. I came out one morning to find a deep scratch running across the driver's side door, the word "monster" carved into it. I stood there stunned. I had parked it in my own driveway, behind a locked gate. I checked the footage. Someone had climbed over the gate, wearing a hoodie and gloves. The video wasn't clear enough to show a face, but I knew it was one of them. It had to be. That's when I snapped. I wasn't going to live like this. If they hated my house so much, I'd give them something really worth hating. I called my architect. "Can we talk rooftop additions?" I asked. He was confused. "Like what?" "I want to add something. Big. Visible. Technically legal." He laughed. "Well, yeah, we could add a greenhouse, a wind turbine, even a sculpture. Depends on your permit." That's when the idea hit me. I'd turn the rooftop deck into something loud. Not with sound, but with purpose. Something they couldn't ignore. Something they'd see every time they looked out their window. I had a meeting with the city. I applied for a public art permit. 1 week later, I submitted my new construction plans. A 12-foot modern sculpture, abstract and legal, made of stainless steel and glass, designed to reflect sunlight in strange patterns. Positioned perfectly to stand between my house and Mr. Reynolds' favorite backyard spot. When the plans became public record, the reactions came fast. Mr. Reynolds showed up on my doorstep the next day. For the first time, he didn't come with fake politeness. He was angry. "You're doing this to provoke us," he said. I didn't even flinch. "No, just adding art to my property. Thought it might raise home values." He turned red. "You're mocking us." I smiled. "No, I'm expressing myself. Isn't that what neighbors do here?" The sculpture was scheduled for installation in 6 weeks. That's when things really started to spiral. The neighborhood was quiet for a few days after that conversation with Reynolds. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful, it feels like someone's holding their breath. Then, 3 weeks before the sculpture install date, I got a letter taped to my door. Not mailed. Not delivered by the HOA. Just taped there, in thick red marker, "We're watching you. We don't want your kind here." There was no signature. Just that. I took a photo, called the police, and showed them everything. The video clips. The fake complaints. The scratched car. The letter. They took it seriously this time. Said they'd increase patrols. But with no solid proof, nothing more could be done. I didn't sleep that night. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my contractor for the sculpture backed out. Said he'd gotten multiple, anonymous warnings telling him not to go through with the project or his company might get bad press. He didn't say who called. He didn't have to. At that point, I started documenting everything. Every letter, every interaction, every bit of strange activity around my house. I posted a short summary on a neighborhood watch app, leaving out names, just facts. Thought maybe someone would step forward. Maybe not everyone hated me. The post blew up. Half the replies were supportive. The other half? Not so much. People accusing me of trying to ruin the neighborhood, claiming I intentionally stirred up trouble by building a house that didn't belong. That's when I realized This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about me. They'd decided I didn't fit. I was new money. Younger. I didn't attend their wine tastings or their monthly brunches. I didn't mow my lawn on Sundays like the rest of them. I build up while they build out. My rooftop deck made them feel watched, even though I never used it when they were out back. They were never going to like me. But now they wanted me gone. So I called a new contractor. One that specialized in commercial structures. Told them the situation. They were used to drama. They'd done art installations in busy city parks. They didn't flinch. The sculpture was back on. I updated the plans. Made it taller. 14 feet. I also added LED uplighting, tasteful, programmable, solar-powered. Legal. Impossible to miss. That's when the real twist hit. I got a notice from the city. Not about my house. About their houses. An anonymous citizen had reported several code violations on homes around the neighborhood. Improper fencing. Illegal shed extensions. Unapproved tree removals. One house even had a hot tub too close to the property line. Someone had turned the spotlight back onto them. I hadn't done it, but I had a pretty good idea who might have. A week earlier, I'd met someone new. A quiet older man named Harold who lived on the far end of the street. He'd moved in a few years before me, but kept to himself. He stopped by after seeing my post online and handed me a coffee. "I know what they did to you," he said. "They tried to force me out too. Different reasons, same tactics. I fought back, but alone, it's hard." We exchanged stories. Turns out, Harold used to work for the city's zoning office before retiring. He knew the codes better than anyone. He'd seen the same group pull this kind of thing on other neighbors who didn't fit the mold. Harold had decided to help. He didn't admit to filing the complaints. But the timing lined up. And now the neighborhood was on fire. Not literally, but emotionally. Everyone was turning on each other. Finger-pointing. Whispering. Accusations flying on neighborhood Facebook groups. I stayed quiet. Kept recording. Kept smiling. The sculpture installation was back on the calendar. 10 days to go. And just when things seemed like they were settling again, I got served. A civil lawsuit. Filed by a group of neighbors, claiming my sculpture would create emotional distress and reduce property value. They were actually trying to stop it legally. But they made a mistake. They listed Harold as a supporter of the project in their lawsuit, naming him in a way that made it clear he was working with me. That was their real error. Because now Harold had nothing to lose. And what he did next would change everything. Harold didn't say much the day the lawsuit was served. He read it, nodded, then quietly walked back to his house. 2 days later, he called a press conference. Yes, a real one. He contacted a local news channel, told them there was something going on in our quiet neighborhood that people needed to hear about. They showed up with cameras. He stood on his lawn in front of a line of reporters and calmly laid everything out. Every zoning violation he'd found. Every HOA abuse of power. Every fake complaint that had been filed against me. He even pointed out how several homes, including Mr. Reynolds and Mrs. Clark's, had features that directly broke city code. Then he dropped the final hammer. He revealed he had been secretly recording every interaction he'd had with the neighbors since 2020, including several conversations where members of the HOA admitted they tried to run out the wrong type of people to keep the neighborhood clean. The story exploded. By the next day, the city had launched an official investigation into the HOA's leadership. Inspectors were going door to door. The footage Harold had? It went viral on local news. The lawsuit against me? Dropped within 48 hours. But that wasn't all. Turns out, Mrs. Clark had used HOA funds to pay for landscaping on her own property. Mr. Reynolds? He had an unregistered Airbnb operating from his basement. Fines started rolling in. People began resigning from the HOA. 2 board members lawyered up. The sculpture? Installed right on time. 14 feet tall. Polished steel. Solar lights lit it up every night. It stood tall and bright, impossible to ignore. The way it reflected the sun made it shimmer like fire. From Reynolds' backyard, it looked like a monument. From Clark's kitchen window, it looked like revenge. I thought I'd feel satisfied. But the truth? I felt empty. I'd spent so much time fighting, defending, retaliating, I'd forgotten what peace even felt like. I got what I wanted, but at a cost. And Harold? He didn't stick around. 1 week after the sculpture went up, he sold his house and left the neighborhood. Said he was done fighting. I don't blame him. He left me a note that said, "They count on people being quiet. Make sure you never are." The neighborhood changed after that. Some people moved out. New families moved in, different people, younger people, people like me. The community meetings changed. The fake smiles were gone. The whispering stopped. People actually asked questions. Talked. And me? I won. But I lost too. I lost time. I lost sleep. I lost the version of myself that thought being right would always be enough. I still live here. The house still stands tall. The sculpture still shines every night. It's a reminder to them, and to me, of everything that happened. And sometimes, when I see someone new moving in, I walk over. I smile. And I say, "Welcome." If anyone gives you trouble, I've got stories. Because I do. And every one of them ends with the same truth. Don't mess with people who read the fine print. And don't ever try to bring down someone who's not afraid to build higher.